Hi guys, look, I'm going to be very brief with this task one. I'm repeating it because I need to save some time in the learning cast. Remember, these have to be under 15 minutes. So task one, if we get an elastic response, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about a small change, aren't we? A small change in quantity. And what about an elastic response? We're talking about a large change in quantity. Alright, well that's going to have to be it from me. Moving on to the next slide. Right, now look, this is just a little technique of mine just for quickly calculating percentage changes. So how does it work? Well look, 150 as a percentage of itself is 100%. We can represent that as 1, can't we? And what we're doing to that 100%, we're increasing it by 35%. So that's plus 35%. Or another way of writing that is 1.35. There's that little point. So if you like, that becomes our multiplication factor. So what I do is I just take the 150, multiply it by 1.35. Oops, got to use my rubber. Can I do that? Yes, I can. Alright, getting good with this stuff, getting good with the technology. So I'll just, that point back 1.35. Look, and when you do that, if your calculator is the same as mine, you should get a price of $202.50. How's that? That was easy, wasn't it? Easy peasy. Alright, here we go. So 750 units as a percentage of itself, what is it? Well, that's 100%, isn't it? Or another way of writing that is 1. And what are we doing to it? We're decreasing it by 55%. So we can rewrite that as 1 minus 0.55, and what we'll come up with is a factor of 0.45. So that's our multiplication factor. So how I calculate that answer, I just go 750 times 0.45. Alright, and so that's $337.5 units, isn't it? Units. Man, I'm amazed I'm talking so fast, I'm getting like Sil Khan. Right, okay. This one here, well, you know, the routine, it's going to be 1. What are we doing? We're reducing by 0.35. What's our factor going to be? It's going to be 0.65. So let's come and do the multiplication. 200 times 0.65. And that's going to be, what are we in? We're dollars. That's going to be $130. Okay, done. Easy. Right, moving on. Now, catch my breath. Calculate a price elasticity of demand. Well, look, you've got to remember what the formula is. That's the formula there. Now, what do we have to do to calculate the value? Well, we've just got to substitute these values into that formula, don't we? So here we are. I'll just do this over here. It's going to be 40%. And remember, it's a price decrease, so show it as a minus number. Because remember, this value here is always going to be negative, because either the price is going up, which means the quantity is going down, or the price is going down, which means the quantity is going up. So, you know, one's going to be a positive change and one's going to be a negative change. And so a positive divided by a negative, or a negative divided by a positive, is always going to be negative. Alright, so let's just reach for the calculator. What does it work out to be? Well, I've got minus 0.8. Now I need to interpret that value. Okay, we'll just use our absolute function. Just put those square brackets in. It's a great device, this function. And so what have we got? Well, because the absolute value of the price elasticity of demand is less than 1, we've got an inelastic response in quantity. Quantity only changes by a little bit. Either it's going up by a little bit or coming down by a little bit relative to the price change. Alright, moving on. This one, let me have a look at this. What have we got here? Okay, so that's minus 70%. Divided by plus 50% if you want to be a bit of a purist about your signs. And when I hit the calculator, if your calculator is as good as mine, you should come with minus 1.4. That's what we expect. We expect that minus value. Now let's get into the interpretation. Let's find the absolute value. What have we got here? Minus 1.41, 1.4. Okay, so let's interpret the value. The EP is greater than 1. So this is indicating that we're going to get, yes, an elastic response. Oops, there's that rubber. Going to have to slow down, this is a bit dangerous for my health. So we have to get an elastic response in quantity, aren't we? So when we change the price, relative to the price change, the quantity is going to go up by a lot. Well, it's going to go down by a lot. Just remember, it just depends on the direction of the price change. Okay, well that's fairly straightforward. So moving on to the next. Alright, okay. Cross out which does not apply. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cheekily do that and using that absolute function. And we know it's going to equal 2.5. That value is greater than 1, so we're going to get an elastic response from quantity, aren't we? Elastic response from quantity when we change its price. So I'll cross out here inelastic. Again, I'm coming down here, I'm going to be cheeky, I'm just going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, and so that we know the absolute value is 0.75. So again, just interpreting what it means, the absolute value of the price elasticity of demand, just calculated, is less than 1, therefore we're going to get an inelastic. Going to get an inelastic response. Okay, Kim, can you just take the time to model that one for? Oh yeah, I can. Look, here's the price going up, so we know the quantity is going to go down, and the quantity is only going to go down by a little bit. Or it could be this situation here, isn't it, where here's the price coming down, and the quantity is only going to go up by a little bit. Now, just staying with this, look, we know that price times quantity equals total revenue. Now, I'll use a different colour. What's going to happen in this case here? Well, the direction of the biggest arrow is going to show us what's going to happen to total quantity. Here's the biggest arrow here, and it's showing us that the total revenue is going to increase. Oh, that's good. All right. Okay, can I get another colour quickly? I'll just see. Yes, I can. I'll take this one here. Alright, now, what's happening down here, guys? What's the direction of the longest arrow? It's that belonging to price, isn't it? It's pointing down, so therefore it's going to tell us that this one's going to tell us that the total revenue is going to go down if we make that price change of decreasing the price. Have you got it? I hope so. I'm just going to change page. Alright, task 5. We're nearly there, nearly done. Alright. So just reading this part of the question, yes, and the EP, over this range, okay, alright. So the EP value, if we do this, is going to be less than 1, so we're going to get an inelastic response, aren't we? In quantity. I'll just abbreviate it that way. Alright, so let's just do our modelling. Price is going up by 20%, but the percentage decrease in quantity is going to be less than that of price, so there's only a small change in quantity and it's coming down. The direction of the largest arrow shows what's going to happen to total revenue, therefore we know that total revenue is going to go up. That's a good pricing move, it's generating more total revenue. Alright, next one. So it's a decrease, okay. And what's the EP? Okay. So the absolute value of the EP is greater than 1. It means that we're going to get an elastic response in quantity to a change in price. Right, so let's go and model that. So we've got the price coming down by 10%. So that means that the quantity is going to go up. So is it going to go up by a little bit or a lot? Yes, you should be saying a lot. Put that arrow in. Now it's all becoming too easy. What's going to happen to total revenue? Well, it's the direction of the longest arrow that's going to tell us, yep, the total revenue is going to go up. And that's another good pricing move, isn't it? Alright. Okay, next one. Okay, right, we're on to task 6. What can we see? Well, look, there's a bit of information to be extracted, so I'll quickly go and do that now. So what we've got here is P1 equals $500 per unit, and we've got Q1, and that equals 200 units. Okay, that's okay. Now, what have we got here? We've got some changes, haven't we, to P1 and P2, to P1 and Q1. They transform to P2 and Q2, so let's go and do that. And so remember, I'm relying on a bit of prior knowledge. So what's our multiplication factor? Because we're saying that price increases by 80%. Yep, that's got to be 1.8, isn't it? We're going to multiply P1 by 1.8. And when we do that, we should end up with $900 per unit. I won't put the units in there, it's getting a bit crowded. What about the quantity? Can we see? Yes, there's a percentage change, and it's a decrease of 30%. So what's our multiplication factor going to be? Yep, you've got it. It's going to be times 0.7. And when we do that, that's going to be 140 units. So that's now P2, and that is now Q2. Alright, so what's happened? Well, let's just work out the total revenue that would be earned from both of those price settings. How are we going to do that? That's P1 times Q1, and when we do that, the total revenue is going to be $100,000 here, if your calculator is the same as mine. And again, so that's total revenue 1, total revenue 2, what's it going to be? When I do the multiplication on my calculator, I get 126,000. And so what we can see is that there's a positive difference, isn't there, of 26,000. So look, what it means is if the competitive environment allows you to put up your price from $500 per unit to $900 per unit, you should do it, because you're going to be $26,000 better off. Is that better in your pocket or in somebody else's pocket? Right, well, what we need to do now is that we just need to get in and reconcile. So what I need to do is I just need to create a bit of space. I'll just do that if I can. Well, that seems to work quite well. Alright, so let's just go in and calculate the EP. So that's minus 30% over 80%. So what are we going to end up with? According to me, it's minus 3.375. Okay, so when I find the absolute value of that, it's going to be less than 1. So we're going to get what sort of response from quantity? You got it? Yep, inelastic. That's right, we're going to get an inelastic response. Alright, so what does that mean? Well, just come down here and do our modelling. So we're going to be putting up our price by 80%. But the quantity is only going to change in relative terms by a small amount compared to the change in price. So here's that small change in quantity. Now, which arrow is longest? It's the price arrow, and it's pointing up, and that's going to indicate that total revenue is going to increase. Right. So we've got these two different methods. Have they given us the same answer? Yes, they have. In both, we show that the total revenue has increased. With one approach, we've got a quantitative answer, and in the other approach, we've got a qualitative answer. So everything reconciles, and all must be good with the world. All right, turning